In the winter of 1936, a Lancaster County farm wife named Barbara King fed 11 people 3 meals a day, every day, until the thaw. Her cellar held 800 quart jars she had filled herself. Her attic held 2 cured hams and a side of bacon. Her bin held 6 bushels of potatoes packed in sand. And her purse held $4, because $4 was all that winter asked of her. When the snow shut the roads for 9 days, her table did not change. When the bank in town locked its doors that same decade, her table did not change. Today, most Americans cannot feed their family for 4 days without a store, a truck, and $150 standing between them and an empty plate. But here is the twist. Barbara King was not poor. She was not surviving. Her table was famous in that valley. People remember her pies 70 years later. The food did not disappear because it stopped being good. It disappeared because nobody could sell you a food your grandmother made for free. The knowing just does not have a price tag on it, and that turns out to be the only reason you never learned it. Now, before we go on, one plain word. Everything this channel teaches comes from the same place. The old people wrote things down. 97 plain fixes for the body after 60, gathered in one book. 865 pages of the old knowing. The link is below this video. Look once if it suits you. That is the last you will hear of it. All right, back to it. I am an Amish farmer of the old order. My people crossed from the Palatinate in 1737 and have farmed the same limestone valley ever since. My grandmother kept a receipt book in the kitchen dresser. She started it in 1931 and wrote in it for 60 years. Before she died, she made me promise her receipts would not die in that drawer. This is me keeping that promise. 25 foods on the list today. 3 of them you need to hear about now. Number 16 was killed by a jeweler from Missouri in 1928, and I will tell you exactly how he did it. Number 6 took an act of the United States Congress in 1970. And number 2, the one on the thumbnail, tastes like pineapple and honey mixed together, plants itself every year without your help, and the Pennsylvania Dutch have grown it since the 1830s. Almost nobody alive today has tasted it. None of these foods faded because they quit feeding people. They faded because somebody got rich the day your family forgot them. That is not on you, friend. They are good at selling. Tap subscribe if you want them back. Not for me. Because we are pulling a whole table's worth of knowing out of the drawer. And you will want the next one. The question is not what we lost. The question is who profited when we forgot and how you take it back. Number 25, Meadow tea. Every plain kitchen garden keeps a mint bed by the wash house door. And from June to September, a gallon jar of Meadow tea sits in every spring house in this valley. Cost of a bed. 1 root from a neighbor once 50 years ago. The store now sells you a 12-pack of bottled tea for $9 brewed in a factory from leaves nobody's grandmother ever touched. The bottlers built that habit through the 1950s with advertising money a mint bed could never answer. Old garden bulletins from the land-grant colleges taught a mint bed as standard kitchen practice. 1 root, 1 corner, tea every summer for the rest of your life. The mint never went anywhere. The habit did. That one they out-advertised. The next one they replaced with a paper bag and a microwave. Number 24, the popcorn row. My grandfather grew a 20-foot row of popcorn every year, hung the ears in the corn crib, and shelled them by the stove all winter. A family's whole year of evening snacks off 1 row and 1 packet of seed. Then the microwave came into American kitchens, and by the middle 1980s, the paper bag with the butter flavoring owned the habit. $3 a box, over and over, forever. The land grant trials never stopped listing open pollinated popcorn. It stores on the ear for 2 years and shells out by hand in a minute. Same corn, new bag, new bill. They put an appliance between you and a seed. The next one they simply stop teaching. Number 23, chow chow. The end of every plain garden goes into one crop. String beans, corn, lima beans, cauliflower, peppers, whatever all gets left over. Pickled sweet and sour in quart jars for winter. Barbara King put up 30 quarts a year of garden ends that would otherwise feed the hogs. The store sells a pint of, quote, artisan jardiniere for $8. It is chow chow with a passport. Home economics classes taught end of garden pickling in every county in this state. Through the 1970s, those classes went away, and a generation learned to throw the ends out instead. The Extension Services still published the safe ratios. Nothing in that crock was ever wasted but to lessen. That one they stopped teaching. The next one they replaced with a humming box. Number 22, the sand bin. Carrots, parsnips, and red beets keep from October to April packed in layers of damp sand in a cellar bin. No jar, no lid, no power. My grandmother's bin was a wooden crate 4 feet long, and it held 200 pounds of roots at 40 degrees all winter. After the war, the wires finally reached the last farms. The refrigerator arrived, and the crate went to the burn pile. Now, the store sells you carrots in February for $2 a pound, truck 2,000 miles, and your refrigerator hums day and night at $20 a month. The old storage bulletins still list the sand method exactly as my people use it. The root kept fine. The bill is what changed. That one, an appliance took. The next one Sugar Money took, number 21, boiled cider. Before white sugar owned the American kitchen, a family boiled fresh cider down 7-to-1 into a dark syrup that kept a year and sweetened pies, mush, and medicine alike. One October afternoon at the Kettle gave a family its winter sweetening for nothing. The cane refiners took the country sweet tooth through the 1890s, and by the 1920s, boiled cider had left the cookbooks it once anchored. A quart of it from a specialty mill today runs $18. Old Orchard State bulletins still carry the method. Fresh cider, wide pan, low heat, patience. The orchard never charged. The refinery never stopped. That was the sweetening. First pattern break, friend. Notice something. 5 foods in and not one of them failed. Somebody sold you a replacement and called the original quaint. That is the pattern, and it does not get better going down the list. It gets sharper. And understand me, nobody sat in a dark room planning it. That is not a conspiracy, friend. That is just how selling works when nobody is watching the till. The jeweler from Missouri is still ahead at number 16. Number 20, butter and true buttermilk. One family cow gives cream, cream in a dasher churn gives butter in 20 minutes, and the real buttermilk left behind raises the best biscuits ever made in this country. Then the fat scare came through the 1960s and 70s, and the country was told for 2 generations to fear what every one of their long-lived grandmothers ate daily. Butter is $8 a pound at the store now, and what they sell as buttermilk is cultured skim milk in a costume. The modern nutrition tables have quietly walked the butter verdict back. The churn never lied. The headline did. That one they scared you off of. The next one they out-advertised with a tin can. Number 19, schnitz. Dried apples. Every plain farm keeps a drying rack, and every October, the seconds off the apple trees get sliced thin and dried down to leather. A bushel of apples becomes 4 pounds of schnitz that keep 2 years in a cloth bag. Schnitz and nip, dried apples, ham broth, and dumplings fed this valley for 200 winters. The canneries took the fruit shelf in the early 1900s, and the bright tin of peaches and syrup made a bag of dried seconds look like poverty. The store sells 6 ounces of quote-unquote artisanal dried apple for $7. A rack over the stove does it for the cost of the seconds you already grew. The apple did not change. The label did. That one they outshone. The next one they shamed outright. Number 18, Rivel soup. Flour, 1 egg, and a quart of milk rubbed into little crumbs and simmered. Supper for 6 in 15 minutes for under $1. Brown flour soup runs even cheaper. This is what fed Plain families through the lean years, and it fed them well. But somewhere along the way, simple food got renamed poor food, and a generation apologized for the very dishes that raised them. The store's answer is a can of cream soup at $4 with 40 ingredients on the label. My grandmother's had 3. Her receipt book calls Rivel soup supper, quick, always. It was never poverty. It was arithmetic. That one they shamed. The next one they bottled and sold back to you. Number 17, homemade root beer. A Philadelphia pharmacist showed root beer to the whole country at the Centennial Exposition in 1876, and for 2 generations after, families brewed it at home by the crock. Sassafras, molasses, a little yeast, 2 weeks of patience. Then the bottlers franchised the country crock by crock, and by mid-century, fizzy water with syrup cost a family more per gallon than milk. A 12-pack runs $7 today. The old receipts make 5 gallons for pocket change, and the Plain communities never stop making it for weddings and barn raisings. Small honest note, home brews make real pressure. Old bottles, loose caps, you burp the bottles or you wear the ceiling. They did not invent the drink. They invented the deposit. That one they franchised. The next one is the jeweler, number 16. Here he is, friend, daily bread. On July 6, 1928, in Chillicothe, Missouri, a jeweler named Otto Rowetter ran the first loaf of bread through his slicing machine. Wonder put sliced loaves on trucks in 1930. By 1933, 8 out of every 10 loaves sold in America came pre-sliced from a factory, engineered soft because soft squeezed like fresh. Within 1 generation, the country that baked 8 loaves every Monday forgot that flour, water, salt, and yeast cost 40 cents a loaf. Store bread with 17 ingredients now runs $4 to $6. Plain kitchens still bake Monday bread. 6 loaves, 1 oven firing, 1 morning. A jeweler sliced it. The country swallowed it. That one they made convenient. The next one they made suspicious. Number 15, schmear case. Clabber cheese. Milk left to set thickens on its own. Hang it in a cloth overnight and morning gives you a soft white cheese my people have spread on bread since before this country had a name. Then the milk ordinances came through the 20th century, written for factories shipping milk 1,000 miles, applied to kitchens moving at 30 feet. I will say this plainly and carefully, friend. The rules on raw milk run county by county and state by state. And I am not telling you to cross yours. I am telling you what the Springhouse did before the rule book, and that the Plain communities that never stopped are still standing. The store sells a tub of European quark for $6. Same cheese, new passport. The milk never got more dangerous, the distance did. Second pattern break, halfway down, friend. Everything above this line, somebody sells you a version of at 5 times the price. Everything below it, they mostly just made you forget. Congress is waiting at number 6. The pineapple and honey fruit is waiting at number 2. Stay with me. Number 14, the smokehouse ham. Every farm in this valley once had a windowless little house that smelled like heaven. Salt, saltpeter, brown sugar, 6 weeks of patience, and a month of cool smoke turned November's hog into September's dinner. No wire, no motor, no bill. Then came the nitrite panic of the 1970s, and the country was taught to fear the very cure its great-grandparents trusted their lives to. while the factories kept right on using the same salts with different names on the label. A bone-in country ham from the last old smokehouse operations runs $90 mail order. The Plain communities never stopped. Honest note, in order: right salt, right weight, right weeks, cool room. Curing is arithmetic, not luck, and you learn it beside somebody who knows. The smoke never failed to farm. The headline failed to smoke. That one they scared you off. The next one they boxed. Number 13, egg noodles and bot boy. 2 cups of flour and 3 yolks. Rolled thin on the kitchen table, cut with a knife, dried on a cloth. Noodles for a week from eggs the hen house gave you anyway. Pot pie, bot boy, the real one, is those noodles simmered in ham or chicken broth with potatoes. The box pasta factories owned the shelf by mid-century, and rolled dough on a Tuesday became something only restaurants did. A bag of artisan egg noodles is $6 at the store. My grandmother made them faster than her stove came to heat. Her book says noodles, eggs the hens owe you. The hen paid for the noodles, you pay for the box. That one they replaced, the next one they bought the name of. Number 12, Apple Butter Day, Lot Varick. One Saturday every October this whole valley smells like it. A copper kettle over a wood fire, 40 gallons of cider and schnitz, stirred with a long wooden paddle from dark to dark, and every family goes home with a year of apple butter. In 1897, a man in Orrville, Ohio started selling apple butter off his farm wagon. His name was Smucker, and the company that carries his name today sells you 9 ounces of it for $5. He industrialized a church picnic, friend. The kettle day still happens in Plain communities every fall, and one day feeds 40 families. They did not improve the butter, they bought the kettle. That one they commercialized. The next one they bleached. Number 11, the vinegar barrel. Sweet cider left alone in a wooden barrel with the bung open turns itself to vinegar by spring. The mother forms, the barrel works, and a farm gets its year of pickling, cleaning, and medicine vinegar for the price of doing nothing. Industrial distilling gave the country water-clear vinegar at industrial speed, and the barrel in the shed became a curiosity. The store sells raw cider vinegar with the mother for $12 a quart now, selling you back the exact thing the barrel made while nobody watched. Old farm bulletins describe barrel vinegar exactly as the Plain farms still run it. The barrel asked for patience. The factory asked for money. That one they distilled. The next one they buried with the name. Number 10, funeral pie, raisin pie. When word came that a neighbor had died, the plain answer was a pie that needed no fresh fruit in any month of the year. Raisins, lemon, a lattice top, carried to the grieving house the same day. It fed the mourners, and it never once missed its moment, January or July. Refrigeration made every fruit a June fruit, and a pie built for winter lost its reason in a country that forgot winter existed. Bakeries sell a raisin pie for $18 now, when they sell one at all. The receipt is 4 lines in my grandmother's book, under a name I will not say out loud twice. It was never about the raisins. It was about arriving. Third pattern break, friend, and this one is mine. The first October I was trusted with the kettle fire, I was 11. I let the flame ride high while the men were at the wagon, and I scorched 40 gallons of apple butter. The whole valley Saturday, black on the bottom of a copper kettle. My grandmother did not raise her voice. She handed me the paddle and said, "Now you know what the paddle is for. You will scorch a kettle too, friend. Everybody does once. Now, down the crown of the list, Congress at 6, the fruit at 2. Number 9, the canning bench, 800 quarts. That was an ordinary plain cellar in 1936. Beans, corn, tomatoes, beef, sausage, peaches. A year of groceries on pine shelves put up in August at pennies a jar. The chain stores made the other offer. 15,000 A&P stores stood across this country by 1930, and the price of a can crept below the price of an afternoon. It never crept below the price of both, friend. The store's green beans around $2 a can now, every can, forever. The extension services still publish the safe canning charts every summer, free. Her shelf held a winter. Your receipt holds a week. That one they undersold. The next one they laughed at. Number 8. Scrapple. Pawn hoss. Butchering day on a plain farm wastes nothing. The trimmings and the broth thicken with cornmeal into loaves that slice and fry crisp all winter. A hog gave the hams, the bacon, the lard, and then it gave breakfast until March. And the whole last hour of the work cost nothing but cornmeal. City menus spent a century sneering at it, and the country learned to pay for the sneer. The same idea wearing a French name sells as country pâté, pan-seared, at $14 a plate. Philadelphia's old market butchers sold pawn hoss by the brick for a century. They renamed it and doubled the price. The hog never noticed. That one they shamed and then sold back. The next one they standardized. Number 7, the starter crock. Before yeast came in a packet, it lived on the counter. A flour and water starter fed daily, shared over fences, carried to weddings, older than the cook. Standardized cake yeast shipped from 1868. The dry packets rolled out around the war, and the crock that never cost a cent gave way to a strip of foil at $1.50 a bake. The plain kitchens and the old bakeries never let the crock die, and the science journals have spent the last decade agreeing that the slow loaf treats the body better. My grandmother's starter, by her book, came from her mother. That crock is older than the state highway. The packet is faster. The crock is free forever. That one they packaged. The next one took Congress. Number 6, here we are. Save seed. In 1970, the Congress of the United States passed the Plant Variety Protection Act, and for the first time, a seed company could hold rights over a food crop seed. Save certain seeds off your own harvest, and the law had an opinion about it. The old family beans slipped through. They belong to kitchens, not companies. Cherokee Trail of Tears. Lazy Wife. The bean my grandmother grew has been in this valley for 100 years. Saved every fall in a jar in the cellar. Planted every spring. Never once bought twice. The seed racks sell you a packet of patented hybrid every April, $4. Engineered polite enough not to come true from its own seed. The exchanges, Seed Savers in Iowa, the Southern exchanges, still list every old family bean, legal and free. They tried to put a fence around the seed. The bean declined. Last pattern break, friend. 4 foods left and the fruit is next but one. Every one of these last 4 stood in Barbara King's kitchen the winter the bank failed. Stay with me. Number 5, the spring house. Cold water out of the hill, a little stone house built over it, and crocks of milk, butter, and meat standing in the channel at 50 degrees, June or January, since before the Revolution. After the war, the wires reached the last farms. The white refrigerator arrived on credit, and within 20 years, the spring house held garden tools. Now the store charges you for cold twice. $20 a month to the power company, and a premium on every fresh thing the cold truck brought. The spring never sent a bill in 200 years. Plain farms in this valley still run their milk cans in the channel today. Your grandfather owned his cold. You rent yours. That one an appliance took. The next one a can of factory grease took. Number 4, lard. In 1911, a soap company in Cincinnati found a way to harden cottonseed oil, called it Crisco, and spent a fortune teaching American women that the rendered fat their families had cooked with for 300 years was old-fashioned. It worked. By mid-century, a country raised on lard pie crust was buying grease made from cotton. One November hog gives 30 pounds of snow-white leaf lard, the finest pastry fat there is, for the cost of an afternoon at the kettle. The store sells heritage leaf lard back to you at $12 a pound now, and the modern nutrition tables have quietly softened the whole case against it. The pig was honest. The advertisement was not. That one they marketed over. The next one they poured down the drain. Number 3, the scrap bucket. Every plain kitchen keeps a covered pail by the sink, and every peel, crust, and plate scraping walks to the hen house or the hog lot by evening. That bucket turns garbage into eggs and bacon, a closed circle older than money. After the war, the sink learned to swallow. The disposal ground the circle open, and the same scraps that fed Barbara King's hens now ride a truck to a landfill, while you buy eggs at $4.50 a dozen. The waste offices of half the states now beg you by pamphlet to compost what the bucket always kept. Your grandmother had no garbage. She had ingredients on their way to becoming eggs. That one they plumbed away. And now, friend, the fruit. Number 2, the ground cherry. Say it plain, the husk cherry. A little fruit in a paper lantern that falls to the ground when it is ripe, and when you unwrap one and eat it, it tastes like pineapple and honey mixed together. No exaggeration, that is the flavor. The Pennsylvania Dutch have grown it since the 1830s. My grandmother never planted it once in 60 years because it plants itself. The fruit you miss in October is the patch you pick from next August. Whole plants were pulled at frost and hung in the cellar, and the wrapped fruit kept fresh into December. Her book calls ground cherry pie the pie strangers ask about. The old Pennsylvania seed houses carried it a century ago. The catalogs let it go quietly because there is no second sale in a fruit that volunteers. The heirloom exchanges carry the seed again today for $3. The last $3 that patch will ever cost you. It asks for nothing. It comes back every year. Maybe that is exactly why they had no use for it. That is the fruit off the top of the list. And number 1 is every jar, every crock, and every row of it at once. Number 1 is not a food, friend. It is the kept table. The mint by the door and the popcorn in the crib. The sand bin and the schnitz bag. The Monday bread and the starter crock older than the highway. The bean seed in the cellar jar and the ground cherry patch that plants itself. The spring house cold and the scrap bucket circle. The 800 jars, not a hobby, not a museum. One family, fed from its own ground, beholden to nobody. Barbara King kept that table through the worst decade this country ever handed a farm wife. And she kept it full. She died at 94. In the house she was married in, and the valley still talks about her pies. She was not poor, friend. She was provided for by her own 2 hands. Hear me now. I am not selling you doom. The stores are open. The trucks are running. Civilization is fine. The only thing missing is the part of you that could fill one shelf without them. That part is not gone. It is untrained. So pick one. Just one this week. Set a mint root by the door. That is Saturday morning. Start a flour and water crock on the counter. That is 5 minutes tonight and a stir with breakfast. Order 1 packet of ground cherry seed for $3. That is Monday, and it is the last time that patch cost you anything. Or bake 1 loaf the plain way, that is one morning, and the house will smell like your grandmother's for the rest of the day. I put up my own cellar shelf last August, the way her book says, 41 quarts, beans, tomatoes, and peaches, one Saturday, a bushel and a half, and about $19 of jars I will use for 20 years. We ate the last quart of peaches in March. Tell me below, which of these 25 did your grandmother actually make? Not read about, make. The one that fills the comments is the one I build the next full video around. Your people knew every food on this list. Somebody just did not get the chance to hand them down to you. Now they are yours again. Do not let them die on your watch. Next week, I am counting down the old barnyard breeds that fed plain families before the feed store existed, including the hen that hatched her own replacements every spring, free, until a contest in 1948 decided one factory bird would replace her in every yard in America. There is a name on that contest, friend, and a grocery chain behind it. You will want to hear it. This is not a cooking channel. This is a library. Keep the plain ways. They kept us.